Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. What if I told you that your nose could predict the future? Not in a mystical way, but in a profoundly medical one. What if your ability to smell a cup of coffee or a blooming rose held clues to the health of your brain, years or even decades from now? It sounds like science fiction, but a revolutionary field of medicine is proving that our often overlooked sense of smell is one of the earliest and most reliable predictors of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Today, we're exploring how the gradual fading of our scent world acts as a canary in the coal mine for our brain, and how this discovery is paving the way for a future where a simple smell test could change everything. To understand why your nose is such a powerful window to the brain, we need to look at its unique wiring. Think of your other senses, sight, hearing, touch, as phone calls that have to go through a busy central switchboard in the brain called the thalamus before being routed to their destination. But smell is different. Smell has a VIP pass, a direct, private line to the brain's higher-order regions. When you inhale, odor molecules bind to specialized neurons in your nasal cavity. From there, the signal travels directly to the olfactory bulb, the brain's primary processing center for smell. And here's the crucial part. The olfactory bulb has dense, direct connections to the brain's limbic system, the ancient core responsible for emotion and memory. This includes the hippocampus and the entorhinal cortex, two structures absolutely vital for forming new memories. This direct anatomical highway is why a certain smell can instantly trigger a vivid, emotionally charged memory from your childhood. It also means the olfactory system sits at the very doorstep of the brain regions that are first ravaged by Alzheimer's disease. Compelling evidence from post-mortem studies shows that the toxic proteins that define these diseases, like amyloid plaques and tau tangles in Alzheimer's, or alpha-synuclein in Parkinson's, often make their first appearance in the olfactory bulb and its pathways. The disease starts its assault here, long before it reaches the memory or motor centers of the brain. This early attack is what triggers the initial, often subtle, decline in the sense of smell. So if the first signs of trouble appear in the smell system, how do we check on it? This is where olfactory diagnostics come in. And it's not as simple as asking someone, "Have you noticed a change in your smelling ability?" Research shows many people with a measurable loss of smell are completely unaware of their deficit. Therefore, we need standardized quantitative tests. The most common type of test measures odor identification. The gold standard is the University of Pennsylvania Smell Identification Test, or UPSIT. It's essentially a 40-item, multiple-choice scratch-and-sniff booklet. You scratch a patch, smell the scent, and try to identify it from 4 options, like rose, gasoline, pizza, or chocolate. Other tests measure your odor detection threshold, the faintest concentration of a scent you can perceive, or your odor discrimination, the ability to tell 2 different smells apart. The beauty of these tests is that they are non-invasive, relatively inexpensive, and can be done in a clinic or even at home. They are a world away from the costly and invasive PET brain scans or spinal taps often used to look for disease markers. But how accurate are they? The evidence is staggering. Let's start with Parkinson's disease. Olfactory dysfunction is present in up to 90% of early-stage Parkinson's patients. A major study published in the journal Neurology followed older adults for an average of 10 years. It found that those with a poor sense of smell at the start of the study were nearly 5 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease than those with a good sense of smell. This predictive power extended up to 6 years before a formal motor symptom diagnosis was made. To put it in perspective, a healthy person might identify 35 out of 40 smells on the UPSIT test. A person with Parkinson's often identifies 20 or fewer. The story for Alzheimer's disease is just as compelling. A meta-analysis combining 25 different studies found that smell tests have a good accuracy for identifying existing Alzheimer's. But the real power is in prediction. For people with mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, which is often a precursor to Alzheimer's, smell tests are a powerful tool. One study found that among MCI patients, a poor score on a smell test was associated with a 5.1 times higher odds of progressing to full-blown dementia within 2 years. In another study, 47% of MCI patients with an impaired sense of smell progressed to dementia, compared to only 11% of those with a normal sense of smell. This has a huge impact on cost and accessibility. A Columbia University study found that combining a brief smell test with a simple memory exam could predict cognitive decline just as accurately as an expensive amyloid PET brain scan. Now, here's where it gets even more fascinating. It turns out the specific way you lose your sense of smell can provide clues about which neurodegenerative disease might be developing. Scientists are identifying distinct olfactory signatures. This is critical for differential diagnosis, which can be incredibly difficult in the early stages. For instance, while severe smell loss is a hallmark of Parkinson's, it's often much less severe or even absent in other conditions that mimic its motor symptoms, like progressive supranuclear palsy. A simple smell test can give a neurologist a powerful clue to tell them apart. It's a similar story with dementia. Research suggests that olfactory impairment is often more severe in dementia with Lewy bodies than in Alzheimer's disease. In one study, a complete loss of smell was found in 41% of patients with Lewy body pathology, but only 16% of those with Alzheimer's. Even frontotemporal dementia has its own unique profile. These patients may have trouble identifying an odor, but their ability to simply discriminate between two different smells might be preserved. This is a subtle but important difference from the more profound sensory loss seen in Alzheimer's. The list goes on, with unique patterns also emerging for Huntington's disease and even ALS. So if the evidence is so strong, why isn't every doctor's office equipped with a scratch and sniff test? The biggest barrier is simply a lack of awareness in the medical community. But this is changing, and as it does, we look toward an even more incredible future. Two frontiers in particular offer tremendous hope. The first is a concept called olfactory training, or smell training. The idea is simple. You deliberately and repeatedly sniff a set of specific odors, often rose, eucalyptus, lemon, and cloves, for a few minutes, twice a day, over several months. It's like physical therapy for your nose. This has been shown to improve the sense of smell for people who've lost it due to viruses or head trauma. But could it also benefit the brain? The logic is compelling. If the smell system is a direct highway to memory centers, could stimulating it help bolster those very same brain regions? Early results are incredibly promising. A groundbreaking study from the University of California, Irvine, published in 2023, explored a simple form of olfactory enrichment. They had older adults use an odor diffuser in their bedroom while they slept. Each night, it released a different scent for 2 hours. After 6 months, this group showed a staggering 226% improvement in cognitive performance on a word list learning test compared to a control group. This simple, enjoyable act of enriching their scent environment was linked to better functioning in a key brain pathway. While more research is needed, the idea that we could exercise our brain through our nose is a tantalizing prospect. The second frontier takes the window to the brain concept to its ultimate conclusion. Researchers are now exploring olfactory mucosa biopsies. Because the olfactory neurons in your nose are technically part of your central nervous system, they offer a unique opportunity to directly sample neural tissue from a living person without invasive brain surgery. Scientists are discovering that the pathological hallmarks of these diseases, the toxic proteins, can be detected in these tiny tissue samples taken from inside the nose. This could one day provide a definitive, early diagnosis and a way to monitor whether new treatments are actually working. From a simple warning system for spoiled food to a harbinger of our neurological destiny, our sense of smell is revealing itself to be more complex and powerful than we ever imagined. These simple, inexpensive smell tests are shifting from a research curiosity to a clinically viable tool that could revolutionize our approach to brain health. They hold the potential to identify people at risk long before irreversible damage occurs, opening a critical window for new therapies and proactive lifestyle changes. The humble act of smelling a lemon or a cup of coffee may one day become one of our most powerful tools in the fight against neurodegeneration, allowing us to see the future of our brain through the remarkable window of our nose. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.